Beneath the bright city of Paris, there is another place. It is not a city of light. It is a quiet kingdom, dark and deep, built from the bones of the dead. A silent empire rests under the feet of the living. This kingdom has more people than the city above it. 6 million souls are there, their stories finished. They do not sleep. They just wait in the cold, endless dark. It is a city made of silence, a place where time has stopped. The story people are told is simple. 200 years ago, Paris was choking. Its graveyards were too full. There was no more room for the dead. The city was sick with its own past, and the ground could not hold any more sadness. The worst place was the cemetery of the innocents. It had been used for 1,000 years. The ground was so full that old bones would push up from the earth. When it rained, a terrible smell filled the air. The dead would not stay buried, but it was more than a bad smell. People spoke of a miasma, a thick, wet fog that rose from the graveyards at night. It was not a normal fog. It was gray and heavy, and it smelled of damp earth and old sorrow. This fog brought more than sickness to the body. It brought a sickness to the mind. People who breathed it felt a deep sadness they could not explain. They had bad dreams. The fog carried a feeling of despair that seeped through closed doors and windows. The death fog clung to the city like a wet blanket. The stone walls of buildings felt cold and damp, even in the sun. People said the air itself felt heavy with ghosts. The whole city was being haunted by its own dead, and the fear was growing. So, a secret plan was made. Deep under the city were old stone mines, empty and forgotten. These dark tunnels would become the new home for the dead. The work would be done in secret, far from the eyes of the city. Every night, the real work began. Carts covered in black cloth moved through the empty streets. They were pulled by quiet horses, their wheels making soft sounds on the stone roads. They carried their heavy loads of bones down into the earth, into the waiting dark. The men who moved the bones were sworn to silence, but secrets like that are hard to keep. They would whisper stories to their families. Late at night, they said some of the bones felt warm to the touch, even in the freezing tunnels. The whispers of the workers grew louder in the dark. They told stories of tools that moved on their own. They felt cold spots that chilled them to the bone, and a deep feeling of being watched, even in the flickering torchlight. This was not just a job of moving bones. It was a job filled with fear. The piles of the dead were a messy, sad sight. The city needed someone to bring order to the chaos, someone who was not afraid of the dark or what was in it. The man they chose was named Charles Axel Guillemot. He was an inspector, a man of rules and straight lines. He came to the quarries to solve a problem for the city. He looked like a normal man, just doing his job. But his private books told a different story. In secret, he drew pictures from old Roman tombs. He wrote down words from Egyptian ways of death. He was not just clearing a space. He was building something with a hidden, dark purpose. The bones were not just thrown into the tunnels. He made them into art. A huge pillar made of leg bones and skulls stood in one room. It reached from the floor to the ceiling, holding up the stone roof. They called it the barrel. Other walls were made of long bones, stacked in perfect, neat rows. And in some dark corners, he placed skulls in the shape of a heart. It was a strange and terrible beauty, made from the parts of people long gone. These were not just pretty shapes. The old books said that patterns have power. The right shapes can act like a cage. They can hold energy. The bones were being used like bricks in a prison wall. a prison for spirits. Quiet rumors said Guillemot was not working alone. A secret group of churchmen and thinkers who studied the unseen world were helping him. They met in dark rooms far from the light, sharing old secrets. They believed the sickness in the air was not from the dead bodies. It was a sickness of the soul. A spiritual poison was leaking from the graveyards, made of the sadness and anger of a million unhappy dead. And here is the real fear. The problem was not a disease. It was a ghost problem. The feelings of all the dead, packed together for hundreds of years, were becoming one big, powerful thing. The city of Paris was on the edge of a mass haunting, ready to be swallowed by its own ghosts. The air in Paris grew heavy. It was a sickness you could not see. A cold feeling followed people in the bright sun. The city of light was filling with shadows, and no one knew why. The fear was a quiet thing, a whisper in the dark, but it was growing louder every day. The city's leaders saw the creeping dread. They knew the ghosts of the old graveyards were rising. It was a spiritual plague, a haunting that was ready to swallow the city whole. They needed a solution that was as big and as dark as the problem itself. A secret plan was made in hushed rooms under the flicker of candlelight. The answer they found was not for the public. The story about clean graveyards was a lie. Moving 6 million skeletons was not a city project. It was a colossal magic ritual, the largest occult working in modern history, hidden right under everyone's feet. They were building a great ward, a huge magic circle made from the bones of the dead, laid out in the dark tunnels. Each skull was a node of power. Each wall of bones was a line in the spell. This massive shield was made to trap the angry spiritual energy that was poisoning Paris from below. But all-powerful magic demands a price. The official records say the project was safe. They say no one was hurt moving the bones. This is the story told to keep people calm. The truth is much darker, a secret buried with the dead. The real stories are whispered by those who know the city's deep places. They speak of workers who entered certain tunnels and were never seen again. Their souls, it is said, were the final sacrifice. They became the living glue that powered the ward, their lives traded to lock the ghostly door. Think of the catacombs now. It is not a place for tourists to see old bones. It is a prison, a carefully built cage holding the angry spirits of 6 million people, their energy contained by the very bones they left behind. The famous words carved over the entrance are not a poem. The message tells you to stop, that you are entering the empire of death. It is a real warning. It is the lock on the prison door, a seal meant to keep the rage inside from ever getting out. That seal, however, was made with old magic for an old world. The city above has changed. The deep rumble of the metro trains shakes the ground. The endless hum of electricity fills the air. The psychic noise of millions more living souls presses down on the ancient ward. And so, a chilling question hangs in the dark tunnels. With every vibration, with every new light turned on in the city above, does the old magic get weaker? What happens when a seal made of bone and forgotten souls finally begins to crack? The sickness that once haunted Paris would not just return. It would break free, a screaming flood of ancient pain, ready to pull the city of light back into the darkness. Today, some people feel it, a strange coldness that seeps up from the ground in certain old parts of Paris. It is a quiet feeling, a sadness that has no reason. They say it is just the old city breathing, but the stories say it is the seal slowly breaking. On the metro trains that run deep under the city, riders sometimes hear things. A soft whisper that is not from any person, a quick, dark shape seen at the end of a tunnel. Most people shake their head and forget. But these small moments are like cracks in a wall, showing the darkness on the other side. The big wall of bones was not made to stop ghosts from walking. It was made to hold back a feeling, a great, heavy sadness made from all the death the city had ever known. The bones were a cage for a sickness of the heart, to keep it from touching the living world above. And now, as that cage grows weak, the sickness has started to leak out. It is a slow poison in the air. It makes people in some neighborhoods feel lost, without hope. They do not know why. They only know that the light in their city feels a little bit dimmer than it did before. There are people who go into the dark tunnels today. They are called cataphiles. They do not use the tourist door. They find secret ways in, far from the lights and the guards. Down there, in the deep quiet, they walk through a city under the city, a place of stone and shadow. In the deep forgotten parts, these explorers see strange things. They find new drawings on the walls. Not old art, but weird signs that seem to hurt the eyes. In rooms that are on no map, they feel a deep cold, a feeling that they have walked into a place that is not for them. The oldest cataphiles have a rule they do not speak of. Some tunnels must be left alone. It is not about getting lost. It is a feeling, a deep wrongness that pushes them back. They feel a mind in the darkness, one that watches and does not want to be found. The stories they tell are of those who did not listen. Explorers who went into the forbidden tunnels. Their lights would die all at once. They would hear their own names whispered from the darkness ahead. Some find their way back, but they are quiet and changed. Others are never seen again. A darker story whispers among them. It says something else lives in the deep tunnels. They are not the ghosts of the 6 million dead. They are older things, drawn to the power of so many souls in one place. They are the watchers, who were there long before the bones. And the strange signs the cataphiles find on the walls, perhaps they are not warnings to stay away. Perhaps they are signs of welcome for people who do not go down to explore, but to worship the things that wait in the endless dark.